Awesome. Okay, so we got our recording going. You guys are able to see my screen. Today, for our notes, we are going to be converting fractions. So go ahead and get your title at the top, Converting Fractions, and today's date, 1/8/21. So January 8th, 2021. And we're just going to split our page in half. So you have a top half and a bottom half. And go ahead and type, oh man, did I freeze? Okay, 5th grade, go ahead. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Go ahead, turn off your cameras. Go ahead and turn off your cameras. Awesome. Go ahead, turn off your cameras. Okay, awesome. Okay, once you have your title and today's date, and you've put a line to split your notes in half, go ahead and type done or ready to move on in the comments. Remember, just answer once so I can see who all is done. Awesome. So while we wait for a few more friends to finish, you might be thinking, Miss E, what do you mean converting fractions? Well, every once in a while, we will get a fraction where our numerator, the number on top, is larger than our denominator, which is on the bottom. So like if we have 10/5, we have 10/5. That's technically called an improper fraction. It's not a normal fraction. So when we have a fraction where our numerator is larger than our denominator, we can turn it into a mixed number. So a mixed number, that's when you have, like, if I said, I need 1.5 feet of rope. I would have a whole foot, because I need 1 foot, plus a half of a foot. So 1.5, that's a mixed number, because you have a whole number with a fraction. Some of you did this in Prodigy yesterday, yeah. So we're going to practice going from an improper fraction to a mixed number, and then we're going to do the opposite, going from a mixed number to an improper fraction. Awesome. All right, 5th grade, I'm going to go on to the next part of our notes here. So the top part of our notes is going to be converting an improper fraction to a mixed to a mixed number. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. There we go. Okay. Awesome. So, improper fraction to mixed number. This is going to be the top half of our notes. So what we're going to be doing is we want to convert 16/5, which is an improper fraction, because that numerator on top, it's larger than our denominator. We want to convert that to a mixed number. So once you have improper fraction to mixed number, you have 16/5, and these notes also written down, go ahead and type in the chat box that you're ready to move on. Awesome. Thank you for letting me know you're ready to move on. And make sure that you're labeling 16/5 as an improper fraction, and you are putting the 2 over equals, and then you're leaving a space to write the mixed number once we figure it out. Yep, and a lot of you did this last year. Remember, this week we're kind of going over some of those 4th grade fraction skills. We're reviewing them before we start our new fraction content next week together. So it's awesome if you remember, hey, Miss E, I worked on this last year, or I kind of remember this from last year. Or some of you are thinking, hey, I did this yesterday in Prodigy. Okay. Is there anyone who needs more time? Type in the chat box if you need more time. Okay, I'm going to take that as a sign that we're ready to move on. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. So 5th grade, when we are taking an improper fraction and we want to make it a mixed number, we want to make it to where it's not just a fraction, but it's a whole number with a fraction. Our first step is to divide the numerator by the denominator. Oops. So that would be, remember our numerator is the 16, our denominator is 5. So we would take 16 and divide it by 5. So what I'd like you to do, 5th grade, is once you write out step 1, divide the numerator by the denominator, I'd like you to, underneath this step, I want you to divide 16 by 5. And remember, when we do that, we would take we would put the 16 inside our box. Oh, I'm flipped around again. But it's 16 being divided by 5. So 16 goes inside our box. The 5 is on the outside. Let me see if I can flip it again. Here. There we go. Okay. So remember, if we're taking 16 and dividing it by 5, it would look like this when we set it up. So go ahead and underneath step 1, divide the numerator by the denominator. Set up and solve this problem. You will have a remainder, okay? Don't add a decimal. You will have a remainder. And I'll go over what it looks like too. I just want to see what you can do on your own. So 16 divided by 5, you will have a remainder. Do not add a decimal point. Once you have step 1 written down and you have tried dividing 16 by 5, go ahead and type in that chat box that you are ready and done. Awesome, 5th grade. Nice work. So remember, you will have. So Zoe, if I froze for you, what you're doing is you are writing out step 1, and then underneath step 1, you are going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So 16 divided by 5, you will have a remainder. Don't add a decimal. You will have a remainder. And then type ready or done when you are ready to move on. Awesome. Is there anyone who needs more time? You need more time to solve 16 divided by 5. Anyone who needs more time? Okay. So I'm going to reveal what. Awesome. Thank you, Jack. Oh. All right. I'm going to reveal what your work should look like. I'm going to scoot this down. Okay. So, ignore the 1/5 for a second over here. You should have taken 16 divided by 5, and 5 goes into 16 3 times equally, 5, 10, 15. So put a 3 up top, then subtracted 15 and gotten 1. And that's your remainder. How many of you got this? You said 5 can go in 3 times and you had a remainder of 1. How many of you got that? Awesome. Perfect. Awesome. So 5th grade, when we are converting an improper fraction to a mixed number, you will always have a remainder. Or actually, I shouldn't say you will always have a remainder. Most of the time, you will have a remainder. So what you do then, we're going to take these numbers, the 3, the 5, and the 1, to form our mixed number. So what we need to do for step 2 then, so then let's write down step 2. We put the remainder over the original denominator. So you might be like, well, Miss E, what on earth do you mean by that? Well, our remainder is 1. And our original denominator, we need to look back up at our original fraction, 16 over 5. The original denominator is 5. So we take the remainder, the amount left over, which is 1, and we put it over 5. And that's why we have this 1/5 here in this example. So that remainder, that's how much we have left over. So we're saying, okay, even when we divide the 16 by 5, we still have 1/5 left over. So that would be our fraction part. So 1 over 5. I think I have that down here. Oh. Yep. So in 5th grade, I put 1/5 kind of to the right of my work here to show step 2. If you want to, you can write 1/5 underneath step 2. Because we're taking the remainder 1 and we're putting it over the original denominator, which is 5. So once you have step 2 written down and you have written 1/5, I want you to put in the chat box that you are ready to move on. Awesome. So once you have written down step 2 and you have put the remainder over the original denominator, meaning you've written 1 over 5 for 1/5, type that you're ready to move on. Awesome, 5th grade. Thank you for letting me know you're ready. Awesome. Is there anyone who needs more time? Type in the chat box if you need more time. Okay. All right, I'll give you another moment. So again, you're writing down the directions for step 2. And then you are writing, So again, you're writing down the directions for step 2. And then you're completing step 2. You're putting our remainder, which is 1. We had 1 left over. And you're putting it over the original denominator, which if we look back up at our original fraction is 5. So 1/5. So if you told me that you needed more time, make sure that you are typing in the text box when you are ready. Awesome. Thanks, Frankie. Perfect. Okay, I think we're ready to move on. So 5th grade, I told you that in order to make our mixed number, we would be using the 3, the 5, and the 1. Well, we used the 1 and the 5 already. Where do you think our 3 is going to go? If our 1 and our 5 become 1/5, what's our 3 going to be in our mixed number? You can type in the chat box. What do you think it's going to be? What will our 3 become? So I see people typing 1, and I think by 1 you mean whole. The 3 becomes our whole number. So what that means, let me scoot this down. So it says combine to make your mixed number. That 3, whatever number goes in evenly, that becomes your whole number. So 5th grade, basically what we're saying is when we have 16/5, that is the same as having 3 whole pizzas with a 5th left. Oh. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, let me say that again. What we are saying is when we have 16/5, it is the same as having 3 whole pizzas with a 5th left over. So when we look at this improper fraction, it's basically saying, okay, we have pizzas that have been split into 5 pieces, but we have 16 pieces total. So if we have multiple pizzas that have been split into 5 pieces each, and we have 16 total pizzas, that means we have a couple whole pizzas. So all that we're doing with our improper fraction is taking the amount of pieces, because we have more pieces, 16 pieces, than we have wholes. And we're just saying, okay, how many wholes do we have? 3. And how many do we have left over? 1/5. So that'd be like having 3 full pizzas and a 5th of a pizza left over. And again, 5th grade, we will also be practicing this next week too. Awesome. So we would take the number that goes in equally 3, and that would become our whole number, and we would pair it with our 1/5. And so that becomes our mixed number. So up here in that space that you guys left, you can go ahead and write 3 and 1/5. Once you have written out step 3 and you have written 3 and 1/5 up under where you put mixed number, type done, so I know you're ready to go on to the next part of our notes. Awesome. Awesome, Allison. I'm glad it makes sense. Awesome. Awesome, 5th grade. So then the next part of our notes, we'll be doing the opposite. So if you wanted to, underneath where you split your page in half, just like how we wrote improper fraction to mixed number, down here you're going to write mixed number to improper fraction. And we have a different example for this one. So again, for this one, we have to start with a mixed number. So you can go ahead and get this written down. 5 3/4 is what we will be converting into an improper fraction. Because sometimes 5th grade, when we are adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions, it's easier if we have 2 fractions, even if one is an improper fraction. It's easier to have that than a mixed number. So there will be times when you are going to want to convert a mixed number into an improper fraction. So remember, this mixed number, 5 3/4, it's like saying we have 5 whole pepperoni pizzas, and then we have 3/4 of a pepperoni pizza. So 5 3/4. Once you have this written down, go ahead and let me know in the chat box that you're ready to move on. And again, if you end up running out of space on your page, you can always go onto the back of your page or go on to the next page. Now, 5th grade, I like converting mixed numbers to improper fractions because really all that we have to do is you'll see this, we'll be taking our mixed number and kind of adding a multiplication sign and an addition sign kind of where into this, and then that's going to really easily help us get to that improper fraction. You'll see though, you'll see. Is there anyone who needs more time? Is there anyone who needs more time? Okay, go ahead, take another moment to finish up your notes. Okay, go ahead, take another moment to finish up your notes. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. You'll still be able to see the stuff in blue. Okay. And so if you just told me you need more time, make sure you're going back into the chat box and letting me know when you're done. Awesome. Thanks, Addie. Awesome. Yes, Emmy, you can go on to the second page if you run out of room. Okay, it looks like everyone's ready. So, step 1. Now we're doing the opposite. Mixed number to an improper fraction. For step 1, I'm going to have you write down the steps first, and then I'm going to show you the example. So for step 1, you're going to multiply. Oh, can you hear me now? Okay, now you can hear me. So you're going to write down the directions first, then I'm going to show you the example. So what you'll do for step 1, multiply the whole number by the denominator. So after you get step 1 written down, I want you to think about what those directions mean. Multiply the whole number by the denominator. Once you have written down the directions for step 1, let me know you're ready to move on in the chat box. Awesome. And this works for any mixed number. You always start by taking the whole number and multiplying it by the denominator. Am I still frozen? Okay. Am I still frozen? Okay. Okay. Hey, Chanel, can you go ahead and turn off your microphone for me, please? Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Oh, we were doing so well. Okay, so what does this mean? Multiply the whole number by the denominator. Am I frozen now? Okay. Okay. I'm going to keep going then before I freeze again. Man. So what this means, so 5th grade, what this means, when we multiply the whole number by the denominator, what we're doing is we're putting a little multiplication symbol between the denominator and the whole number. So remember, our denominator is on the bottom of the fraction, and our whole number is off to the left. So it's just like putting a multiplication symbol in between them. So we're taking 4 times 5. So, or 5 times 4. It works either way. So when we do that, we get 20. Thank you, Eli. Yep, so when you get this written down, you can go ahead and let me know you're ready to move on. Okay. So it's just like sticking a multiplication symbol in between the denominator and the whole number. So 5 times 4 is 20. Okay, good. I'm glad you can hear me, Addie. So you might be asking, well, Miss E, why does this make sense? Why does this work? Well, when we have a whole and a fraction, and we want to turn it into improper fraction, this 5 represents how many wholes we have. So it's like 5 whole pizzas. Well, the denominator tells us how many pieces our wholes are split into. So basically what we're doing here is saying, okay, we have 5 whole pizzas. Each pizza is split into 4 pieces. So that 5 whole pizzas actually represents 20 pieces of pizza. So that's why we have to do this first. We need to convert our 5 whole pizzas into pieces, or 5 whole pies into how many pieces of pie does that equal? So if we have 5 whole pizzas or pies, and each of them have been split into 4 pieces, we are saying the 5 whole pizzas or pies actually represents 20 pieces. So then our next step, step 2, is then we need to add the numerator to that number. We need to add the numerator to that number. So we're taking that 20. Remember, the 20 represents how many pieces are in those whole pies or pizzas. Okay. How am I doing now? Now can you hear me? Okay, now you can hear me. I'm hoping. Awesome. So the reason why we would then add the 3 is because, okay, we have 20 pieces in those 5 whole pies. Well, we still have 3 extra pieces, because remember, this 3/4 means we have 3 pieces out of 4. So we would take the 20 plus the 3, and we would get 23 to figure out, okay, how many total pieces in this entire mixed number, how many total pieces do we have? And then we would take the total number of pieces and put it over the original denominator. Can you hear me now? Okay, Sydney can hear me. Eli, Elena can hear me. Philip can hear me. Will, you said I'm glitching a little bit. Other people can hear me. Okay. Here, let me see if I can close some tabs too a little bit. Thank you, Eli. Can you guys at least see the notes? Okay. So we add the, we add the number of pieces that the whole 5 represents to the extra pieces 3. I'm typing this out for people who can't hear me. So we add the number of pieces that the whole represents to the extra pieces to get a total of 23 pieces. I think that's kind of how I can phrase it. And again, 5th grade, if you're having questions on this and I'm glitching and you're having a hard time hearing me, we can go over this again next week. But I just want you to have these notes in place so that then when we talk about it next week, I can say, okay, turn back to last Friday's notes. Let's look through these again. Okay. Are there questions? Does anyone have any questions? Any questions? Okay. What I want you to do, type, here, let me, type in the chat box what your level of understanding for this is. Type what your level of understanding is. Okay. And I know some of you are going to be lower than usual because I may have been glitching for you, or me having to pause quite a bit because I was freezing and waiting for people. It may have been a little harder for you to follow along, and that's totally okay. If you're at a 3, that'd be like, Missy, I'm on the right track. I'm feeling good, but I'd like more examples. That's what a 3 would mean. Awesome. Still waiting on a few people to type their level of understanding. Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Michael, I'm assuming that's a 4 out of 5. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. No. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.